with your main Chip Washington. When it comes to information, the main got an arsenal. Bring you up to speed with what you need. He's the local and nationwide news feed. Let's talk about it. Dialect to do something about it. Chip got the flow wide open if you got questions about it. Man, it's the show that brings you to your raw. To solve all problems, it starts with real talk. Real talk. It's 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 real talk. Yeah. Welcome to Real Talk with your host, Chip Washington. It's real talk. It's real talk. It's real talk.
And here we go on this Monday, October 18th, 2021. Real Talk Memphis is on the air. Chip is back in the air chair. The gang is all here. We are fired up and ready to go. Very happy to have you with us on this Monday, a beautiful Monday. It was absolutely gorgeous today. And I hope you had a chance to get outside and enjoy some of that nice fresh air. And I hope that you've been well since the last time we corresponded. It's been a couple of weeks since we've been here, but back and feeling good, ready to go. And hopefully we will have a good broadcast for you tonight. And you should tune in. You should check it out. You should tell somebody because this is going to be the best hour of your life. Now, you're asking yourself, how do I get this fine piece of radio broadcasting? Well, you can do it any number of ways. You can check us out on the air right now, 91.7 on your FM dial, WYXR. You can also go to the website, which is wyxr.org, and hit the Listen Live button, and you can catch us. You can catch us on the TuneIn app, put in WYXR in the search, and hit play. And, of course, we are a podcast, so we will be posted tomorrow. So there's absolutely no excuse at all for you to miss this radio show. And, yeah, we're doing the Facebook Live thing as well, too, if you want to check that out. We have a very good show for you tonight. It's all about the ladies in this week's edition of the show. All fine, upstanding women are going to be here talking about a variety of subjects. Of course, this is both Domestic Violence Awareness Month and Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we are going to talk about both of those issues, very serious issues, of course, with some folks that can give us some knowledge about that. And we're going to open it up in a few minutes with the new president, relatively new president of Rust College. That's right, HBCU in Holly Springs, Mississippi. Dr. Ivy Taylor will join me in a few minutes. But before we even move forward, many of you know the station had its pledge drive week that just ended, I believe, Saturday or yesterday, reached its goal. The station reached its goal 100%. So I want to personally thank each and every one of you who contributed, who gave in your support and encouragement of this station. It means you like what we're doing around here. Kudos to Robbie and kudos to JB and kudos to Shelby and all the folks who helped to keep this thing together on a daily basis. Did not participate this year in this particular pledge drive, but I'm always, pushing and making sure that this station is well represented because I like being here. I like the station. I like the personalities, and I like that you like the station as well. So glad to have you all with us, and keep telling folks so we can grow and grow and grow and grow. And again, congratulations on reaching the pledge goal. Before we move any farther, this is the time of the broadcast where we celebrate you, whether it is a birthday, an anniversary, or a special occasion, and we do that with a special theme. Hit it, Jack. Now, I will tell you that when I promote the fact that you can get a shout out, on the show for your birthdays, normally, I get a tepid response. Today, kind of crowded, so let's get into it. Happy birthdays go out to LaWanda Braxton Talley. I know her. Happy birthday, LaWanda. Val Wright celebrating today. Joe Collins, it's your birthday. Happy birthday to Tracy Allen, Monique Pruitt, Penny Serpico Fry. Happy birthday out to Kelly Evans, Dawn Sugar Ray, Sylvester Tate. That name sounds familiar. That's Tate Computers. That's that fella right there. Happy birthday to you, sir. Happy birthday to Pat Hamilton, Brenda Thomas Freelix, Jackie Williams celebrating today, and Trey Baker. Also, happy birthday goes out to Reese Garrison. He's 15 today, and this is from his grandma, Linda Harris, a great supporter of the big broadcast. And happy birthday later on this week to Curtis and Betty Ushry from your daughter, Tina Lee Murchison. And last but of course not least, my guy, my boy, I know him as the Chief Party rocker himself, Carl Roberts, who is a radio personality right here on this fine station, Sunday afternoons from 1 to 2, playing that cool jazz. Tomorrow is his birthday. I hear we're shutting the city down. October 19th, Carl's birthday, shutting the city down. We're going to party like it's, what is it, 1999 or 2021 or whatever it is. But happy birthday to each and every one of you. And if you're celebrating and you didn't get in here, or you had an anniversary or special occasion, congratulations to each and every one of you. Thank you very much, Jack. So, as many of you have no doubt heard, happy birthday. As no doubt many of you have heard, we are mourning the death of General Colin Powell. He died today, 84 years old, of complications of COVID. And he also had cancer, so he had some pretty tough physical ailments there. Of course, he was the first black Secretary of State. He was a general. He was an American hero. He was a patriot. He served like 3 or 4 presidents, and just highly thought of, not only domestically but around the world. Tributes pouring in all day for him. Again, great man. And the country is mourning his loss today. General Colin Powell, dead of COVID complications at the age of 84. May he rest in blessed peace and be a blessing to us all. Getting into some news and notes, well, many of you have noticed that the COVID numbers are starting to decline a bit. We are seeing daily numbers, cases declining, children cases declining, deaths are slowing down a little bit as well. Of course, you can get a booster right now, the Pfizer booster. They are probably going to announce any day now the Moderna and the J&J boosters will be available for emergency use authorization. So if you took either of those two, stay tuned and keep your ears open for when you can get a booster, should you choose to do so. There is also, of course, anticipation from some in reference to the fact that children ages 2 to 11 will be able to get vaccinated as well. Maybe sometime around the end of the month, we'll see whenever that conversation happens, but they're talking about it. And again, I asked this question before, will you allow your child that young to get a COVID shot? How do you feel about all of this? Now, many of you are anti-vaxxers out there. We get all that. And I'm going to say what I always say. Get vaccinated, because it's not only for you, but it's for other folks around you as well. So, but the big question is, when it is approved for the younger generation, will you allow your children to get it? I'd like to see a little back and forth here on Facebook Live if you so choose to say either yes or no or what have you. Vaccination mandates for businesses around the country with 100 employees or more. Vaccination mandates. This is causing a big issue, and it's starting to swell up around the country. Police departments in particular, Chicago, Baltimore, Seattle, and a few others, their unions are telling their employees, their officers, don't do it. We don't want the government to infringe on our rights as to what we do with our bodies. So that could cause a lot of problems. But what people may not understand or know is that all law enforcement officers in this country have died from being exposed to COVID. So you might think that getting a vaccination might be a good thing in order to be able to keep your job and, again, keep yourself safe and keep your family safe. But it's a big deal in Chicago. I can tell you that right now. And with the crime problem in Chicago, that's the last thing they need. And so we'll see how all this shakes out. A lot of businesses around this country, including here in Tennessee, are not too thrilled with the fact that we have to vaccinate. We have to. We're being told that if we don't vaccinate, we are going to lose our job. So, again, work in progress. See how all this pans out as time moves along. I can tell you right now, the legislature in the state of Tennessee doesn't like it, and they're about to have a special session to try to change a whole bunch of rules in reference to health departments and the COVID-19 response and mask mandates and optional mask mandates and the whole 9 yards. So, again, stay tuned. Got an email today from work, which kind of lets me know that we're changing the seasons. And flu season is really about here now, generally in October, going through the first couple of months of the new year. So it might be time to start looking into that flu shot. For those of you who get flu, I get one every year. I know people who don't get the flu shot every year and say they have never gotten the flu. Okay, well, keep hanging in there. Keep hanging in there. We'll see what happens with that. I'm going to shift gears a little bit. I don't know if how many of you are football fans, college football fans. Over the weekend, big game at UT between the University of Tennessee and Ole Miss. And, well, got a little sloppy there at the very end of the game. 54 seconds left. There was a very disputed call that was made, and Tennessee fans didn't like it. And they started throwing stuff all over the field, water bottles, golf balls, mustard bottles, and I'm still working on the mustard bottle aspect of things. The Ole Miss coach Lane Kiffin got hit with a golf ball. It's kind of a dangerous situation. I mean, the dance team had to leave. The band actually got up out of the stands and left. As it stands now, 18 people were arrested, and 47 people were removed from the stadium after the garbage throwing incident at the game. It's a bad look. It's a bad look all the way around. It's just bad look. I mean, we all have teams that we root for, support, and encourage, and everything like that. And a lot of times there are bad calls that are made, but that goes beyond the pale. We can show ourselves better than that. And I'm probably sure that after all is said and done, they will at UT. If you're a big basketball fan, the Grizzlies, the NBA kicks off actually tomorrow night, but the Grizzlies play on Wednesday night, their first home game against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Your mask is required. You also need to show proof of a negative COVID test, or that you have been vaccinated. Yeah, so prepare for that. So don't go in there saying that you didn't know, nobody told you, because I just did. And before I move on to other business at hand, like the show, I want to give a West Coast shout out. I have family members in California. And I want to shout out cousins Barbara and her husband Elliot, and cousins Kenny, Dale, and Curtis. Now, I don't know if they're listening or not, but every now and again they check me out. So I just wanted to say, just saw them recently and had a good time, great visit with them. So shout out to the West Coast folks from Real Talk Memphis here in Memphis, Tennessee. We're going to take our first break, and when we come back, hopefully we will have the president of Rust College. She is Dr. Ivy Taylor. This is Real Talk Memphis. Glad to be back. Glad you're here with us. I'm Chip. You know who you are. Quick break. Right back.
If you like Real Talk, here's a way you can get involved. Do you have a show topic idea or suggestion? Want to be considered a guest? Or have a guest idea? Then send Chip a message on his Real Talk show page and you can be a part of the Real Talk experience. So as he always says, go out and tell somebody. We'll be right back.
It's real talk. It's real talk. It's real talk. It's real talk.
This is Bishop Phoebe Roth of the Episcopal Diocese of West Tennessee. Tune in every Thursday morning at 8 a.m. at WYXR 91.7 FM to hear conversations with community leaders about the role of faith in their lives. That's Faithfully Memphis, right here on WYXR FM.
Hey Memphis, my name is Ron Buck. I am looking forward to bringing you my show, Riverside, every Friday from 1 to 2 p.m. I will be playing rock and blues, old and new, and featuring Memphis music and events. I hope you'll tune in to Riverside every Friday at 1 p.m. on WYXR 91.7 FM, Raised by Sound.
Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
And welcome back to Real Talk Memphis on this Monday. Chip here with you. Very glad you are along for the ride. And I told you we'd have a really good show, and we're going to talk about higher education. We're going to start things off on a fine note from one of the finest established HBCUs, and for those uninformed, historically black colleges and universities, of one of which I worked back in the day, Tougaloo College. We are very fortunate and very pleased to have the president of Rust College. She is Dr. Ivy Taylor. And Dr. Taylor, thanks for coming on the show tonight. I really appreciate it.
Well, good evening. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So first of all, how long have you been president at Rust?
I've been president at Rust since June 1st of 2020.
Okay, so it's been a year. It's been some time.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So and I know of where you came and one of the your past positions. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But
okay.
but so tell me. I keep seeing and I'm hearing good things going on at Rust. It sounds like you're revving the engine and you guys are really starting to move forward, getting new students and starting to offer quite an agenda of classes and other activities. Tell us a little bit about what's going on at Rust College.
Wow, there is so much going on at Rust College. I really hit the ground running in last June and have assembled a great team. And of course, we're building on a tremendous legacy there. But, we are looking at making improvements in so many ways at Rust to our strengthening our curriculum, making improvements to the campus, and then sharing our story, because I think we've been a well-kept secret. We've been keeping to ourselves a little bit too much down in Holly Springs. So we need to let folks know about all the exciting things going on. Just one example, we recently signed an agreement with University of Mississippi.
Okay.
It's a 3+2 degree program where students can come to Rust for 3 years and study math, and then they can automatically be entered into Ole Miss for 2 years to study engineering. So
wow.
That's really a great way for students to get the best of both worlds, to have the supportive, family-oriented environment of a small HBCU like Rust, and then all the great resources of a flagship University of Mississippi for a popular major like engineering. That's just one example of the types of changes we're making at Rust.
Wow, that's a pretty big deal and a pretty big change. Now, if I'm to understand correctly, you are the first female president in the history of Rust College. And I guess I would like to ask, what makes it so special? You've been there about a year now, and so, you pretty much absorbed into the Holly Springs, a way of life, quiet, peaceful. But what makes Rust College so special, in your opinion?
I think Russ is so special for a number of reasons. First, just the history dating all the way back to 1866,
Right.
just the idea of people getting together to ensure that previously enslaved people have the opportunity for education. Where we are physically located, we're located on previous slave auction grounds. So we have a reminder every single day of from whence we came. And we have a tremendous history and connection to the civil rights movement. We've had freedom riders staying on campus there at Russ. And
Okay.
we've had student leaders who were involved in the movement. And we're building on that legacy started by Ida B. Wells, who was a student at Russ back when it was known as Shaw University. So
Oh,
she
my.
got her early training and education at Russ College, and just the family-oriented, supportive environment. I think our geography is amazing as well. You have the opportunity as a student to focus on your studies in a small town, but you have all that a big city like Memphis offers in your backyard, just 35 miles away, plus the premier kind of college town
Yeah.
for the state of Mississippi, and Oxford is just 30 miles away as well. So I think it's great.
So you're surrounded, you're surrounded on one side and on the other side, in Memphis and Oxford. That's a big deal. So, and ladies and gentlemen, in case you're joining us, I'm speaking with Dr. Ivy Taylor. She is the president of Rust College. And before you came to Rust College, am I correct in that I understand that you were actually the mayor of San Antonio, Texas?
That is correct. I was a big city mayor before coming to Russ. First Black mayor there in San Antonio, second woman, but there were 40 years between me and the first woman.
Wow.
So it was kind of like being the first woman.
I was going to say absolutely that. So you were a big city mayor in San Antonio, Texas. Now you are the first female president at Rust College. What enticed you? What was the turning point? What was the selling point for you to come to that beautiful campus?
Well, after my background is in urban planning, and after working to improve neighborhoods and bring investment to inner cities through affordable housing and, other types of investments, after doing that work for some years, I had the light bulb moment of recognizing that investing in people through providing them access to education was really the way to change communities for the better and to give families more opportunities to advance. And so I was on the board of another HBCU, which is located in Austin, and that's what introduced me to HBCU. So I kind of purposed in my heart that I wanted to be the president of an HBCU because I thought I could use the leadership skills that I gained leading a city in working to lead and preserve one of our HBCUs. And we only have about 105 HBCUs left nationally.
That's right.
So this is important work to preserve them so that they're a resource that remain for generations to come.
Well, that's very fascinating. And as I said at the beginning, I actually worked at Tougaloo College in Mississippi, which is an HBCU, very quiet, peaceful campus. And I really enjoyed my time there. But I think one of the things I enjoyed the most is just engaging with the young people. That energy, that spirit. Talk a little bit about that. And you see that every single day out there, and that must be very rewarding in and of itself.
It definitely is. It's a lot more rewarding than maybe disgruntled citizens at city council meetings. So it's great to see the energy, the creativity, and the optimism of our young people, to be inspired by that on a daily basis, to see the opportunities that they are pursuing, through the various leadership programs that they're in. We just had a couple of students who were picked for an AutoZone competition for internship. We have two students that are doing that. You know, we had a student who was one of the White House scholars, HBCU scholars this year.
Okay.
You know, we're reviving our debate team, and they're involved in some interesting things. You know, we've got students engaged in all kinds of activities. Our student athletes. We've even got a kind of classic club called the Ebony Fashion. Do you remember Ebony Fashion Fair?
Yeah, that was I do remember that. Yeah, absolutely.
We have a Ebony Fashion Club at Russ, trying to make sure everybody stays on point with their appearance. So, you know, and of course our legacy as it relates to music, you know, our choir, the Russ College a cappella choir.
Yes.
And then we're working to build our band as well. So the students are engaged in all types of wonderful activities, and they are inspiring.
Wow, you know what, that sounds very, very exciting to me. And I'm gonna ask you this question because I'm curious to know. You know, you seem like someone who is a visionary and is looking down the road. So tell me what Rust College looks and feels like in another year or maybe two, in your eyes?
Oh, in another year or two, we are going to have some exciting new academic offerings at Rust. We're actually in the process right now at looking at some new majors like forensic science and physics. We're going to have some exciting new majors. We're going to have improved facilities at the campus, and we will have grown our student population, attracting some of the brightest scholars in the Mid-South. So we are excited about all that's ahead. You know, actually, we're going to be celebrating our Founders Week coming up in November, and the theme for our Founders celebration is Ready for the Rustian Renaissance.
The Rustian
so we're ready.
Renaissance.
The Rustian Renaissance. So we are entering a new phase, a higher level. You remember the Harlem Renaissance? We weren't around. It was almost 100 years ago.
Right.
But everything that was produced, all the artistry that was produced from those days still serves as an inspiration. And so we're ready for our own Rustian Renaissance at Russ College.
Rustian Renaissance. I like it. I like it. But I'm going to tell you right now, they got the right one. It seems to me to lead this campus to great things in the future. And before I go, you know, I know a few of your folks down there. So say hello to Talia and to Big Frank and to Doc. I know all those folks pretty well.
Oh, great. They are wonderful members of our team. And if you want to come see them, say hello in person, come down, bring some teenagers to our Russ College Preview Day, which is coming up on Saturday, October 23rd, for prospective students to come check out Russ.
See, that's what good presidents do. See, you're always recruiting. I like that. I like that. Listen, Dr. Taylor, thank you so much for taking a few minutes of your time to talk to our audience about beautiful Russ College, and I wish you nothing but the greatest success in the future. And anytime you got something going on down there that you want to talk about, Real Talk is the place, okay?
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
Have a great night. Thank you so much.
You too.
Dr. Ivy Taylor, ladies and gentlemen, getting it done at Russ College, and then all those other folks that I mentioned as well. Before I go to break, I want to thank, I see Kevin has tuned in tonight, and Johnny, I see you. Cousin Kenny, I see you as well, and Deborah Brown Bingham from Jackson, Mississippi, checking things out tonight. Appreciate you all. Thank you so much. Keep watching, keep listening, keep supporting the big broadcast. We are going to take our next break, and when we come back, we're going to get into a very serious subject. As I said earlier, this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and my next guest is not only a survivor, but she is an advocate, and she will tell us all in a very frank and honest discussion how not to be a victim of domestic violence. This is Real Talk Memphis. I'm Chip. Right back.
If you like Real Talk, here's a way you can get involved. Do you have a show topic idea or suggestion? Want to be considered a guest? or have a guest idea? Then send Chip a message on his Real Talk show page and you can be a part of the Real Talk experience. So as he always says, go out and tell somebody. We'll be right back.
It's real talk. It's real talk. It's real talk. It's real talk. There's really nothing better than a box of records. Not even a bottle of beer. Drinks are gone in a matter of minutes, but vinyl just won't disappear.
Hi there, this is Zach Ives. My show, A Box of Records, plays every Tuesday night, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., right here on WYXR 91.7 FM, Memphis, Tennessee.
Hey everyone, this is Janet, host of Jaunt with Janet, Wednesdays from 4 to 6 p.m., bringing you new releases in the rock, pop, and electronic genres with a little bit of the old fused in, all here on WYXR Memphis 91.7 FM.
Bill's Kiln, now on Mondays at midnight. WYXR 91.7 FM, Memphis.
I'm listening.
Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
It's real talk. 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 It's real talk.
And welcome back to Real Talk Memphis on this Monday evening. As always, very happy to have you with us. I'm your humble host, Chip Washington. And as we said a bit earlier, this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And of course, it's a big problem, not only here, but nationally as well. And of course, COVID didn't do much to take it down a notch. It actually exacerbated it in many ways. And actually, the problem got even worse because of the stress of job loss and sickness and a lot of other, things that came into play that may have made a strained relationship even worse. Well, I'm very fortunate to have someone with me tonight who is not only a survivor, but she is an advocate for victims of domestic violence. We kid because I have her on every year because this is a very important topic to discuss and a very important subject as well. So please welcome Miss Gwen Turner. And Gwen, thank you for being on the show. I really appreciate you. You know that.
Thank you for having me. And when you call, I'm going to answer. Yes. Eventually, I'm going to answer.
Yeah, I like that eventually part. But yeah, you do. But listen, thank you.
I will answer.
Absolutely, you will all the time. So Gwen, you and I talked offline a little bit about all of this. And, of course, this problem is an ever consistent and ever persistent and a dangerous problem. But we've also seen it probably escalate even more. Maybe you have. Since the advent of COVID. Can you talk a little bit about that and what you've seen and kind of what you've heard and talked about during all of this?
Absolutely. Great question and great conversation. Before the pandemic, before COVID hit and everything got as crazy as it did, there was already an epidemic.
Right.
Stage of domestic violence here in Memphis and Shelby County. So it made it a double pandemic. One reason being safe at home was not necessarily safe at home for people experiencing domestic violence issues. And not only did it increase in the intimate partner relationships, but family violence, which is also another form of domestic violence, increase. And when I say that, you have people who are closed into a residence. A lot of people used work as a refuge or as a place to go to kind of separate from the tension in the household.
Right.
And then to compound on that, the children intensified all of the things that were going on in the household, because you had the parents, you had the siblings, and you had the children there. So one of the things that we really noticed was the impact that it had on the children, because a lot of times the children were in school when some of the violence or some of the tension would go on. But when the pandemic hit, then everybody was at home.
Right.
So they talk about the issues with children not being in school on a educational level, but also on an emotional level, because a lot of them got a chance to internalize even more of the issues that were going on in the household. If you had two parties in the household, say intimate partner relationship, and both persons lost their job, so you had several layers added on to something that was already going on. You already have domestic violence issues going on, be it verbal or emotional or whatever the phase was. And then you add a layer of no money on there. You add a layer of no job on there. Right. You have a layer, you add all these layers. So yes, it did intensify.
So, when we talk about this and when we think about this, a lot of times we talk about, the victims of domestic violence. And I'm sure as an advocate and as someone who, who has really devoted your life to this, one of the things that I have heard in the past and that people are even still talking about, in terms of being a victim, is like they can't get out of it. I mean, why stay in it? The question always comes, well, if you're in a situation where somebody's beating up on you and not treating you with respect as they should, why stay in that situation? And you do find that a lot of people, unfortunately, do stay in those unfortunate circumstances. Am I correct in that?
Absolutely. And for every victim, there is another reason. Now, I'm just going to name off some of the reasons, because we think as a community and as people, well, if it's not going right, get out.
Right.
But my first statement would be my struggle. I stayed off and on in a bad relationship for over 20 years. I tell people, when the head and the heart conflict, then that's a great war going on, because your head may say, you don't need to be here. You don't need to do this. And, this is not right. You don't have to go through these things. But when your heart is saying something else, but I love him, but I feel like I love him, then that's an issue. So that's a inner conflict that victims have to deal with that most people don't think about. You can say you'll leave. I left 15 times, but I went back. So it's all about gaining that courage to leave and stay gone and realize that you're worth more. Then when children are involved, I may tell my sister or my brother, because we do know men experience domestic violence, and that's on the rise now. I may tell them to leave, but I didn't offer them my couch to sleep on. So where do they go?
Where do they go? Yeah, exactly.
Where do they go? And if you have children involved, I may tell you to leave, but I didn't tell you, well, I'm going to babysit your children while you go to work. I didn't say that. Or you may tell me to leave, but that my partner was the breadwinner of the household. I don't have a job. And not only do I not have a job, I don't have an education. So it's not always so easy to leave. And now, in the times that we're living in now, it gets even harder, because we're finding that the day you decide to leave, for a lot of victims, that's the most dangerous time of the relationship. So there needs to be a plan in place. It's not always conducive to just get up and leave, because suppose that abuser follows you.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of cases of that too. Yeah,
absolutely.
You know, you mentioned something, and if you're just tuning in, ladies and gentlemen, we're speaking with Gwen Turner. She is a domestic violence advocate as well as a survivor. But you mentioned something a few minutes ago about the head and the heart and the conflict between them both. So once you deal with the conflict between the head and the heart, and you get to, as you say, a place where, you know what, it's time, I can't do this anymore, it's time to go. Yeah. What is that place? I mean, I know the place is like, I got to go, but I mean, you know, from how do you get past the conflict between the emotional and the mental in terms of this?
And I have to say again that with every person, that's a different struggle.
Right.
And it is a struggle. For me, it was continuing to look in the mirror and say, you can't keep getting these black eyes. You never saw your parents go through anything like this. God has something better for you. So I had to talk to myself.
Right.
I mean, I really had to talk to myself and say, it's okay to love him from a distance, because that's what I had to do. I had to love him from a distance. And most of all, I had to keep saying, I got to love me more than I love anybody. Because if my love for me is not effective with me, then it's certainly not going to be effective to love somebody else. So I say, when you get to the point where you love yourself more than you love anyone else, then it helps you get to that common ground easier. It's still a struggle, but when you get to the point where you say, hey, I'm going to love me better than anybody else can love me,
right,
then it kind of triggers your heart into saying, okay, I got to love from a different place. I got to get away from here.
You know, Gwen, a lot of people also talk about the fact that there's a shame. A lot of people are ashamed.
God, yes.
I mean, and that seems to be, really a big issue for a lot of people, maybe staying in a situation that they know that they shouldn't be in, or that they know that they shouldn't stay in. Talk about that, because I'm pretty sure that when you talk to as many people as you do, that's one of the topics that comes up, the shame.
Absolutely. And I'm going to actually speak from that, again, from a personal experience. A lot of people know me as a gospel singer.
Yes.
My abuser was a pastor. So, and we were picture pretty. We looked good together, and I called that picture pretty. So my ploy was who's going to believe the little gospel singer over the big preacher?
Wow. Okay.
So yes, there was some shame. And then you talk to people who are connected to the both of you, who really have no dog in that fight,
right,
but who are connected to the both of you. And you wonder, okay, are they going to choose his side over my side, when you're not really looking for sides? But there is a degree of shame and intimidation, because people look at you, and people can be very cruel, because a lot of people will say, well, what did you do?
Yeah. That's a big part of it too. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So to have to answer those questions with people who sometimes don't really have bad intentions, it's just that the wrong thing comes out. And what they're asking questions out of concern, not realizing that they're re-victimizing the victim.
So for someone who is listening and who might be dealing with some difficult circumstances, let's end this by you offering up the best advice you can for those who are victims of domestic violence, be it man or woman, and what they can do to get themselves out and get their lives back on track.
One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to leave 2 phone numbers that they can call and get all kinds of free assistance.
Please do.
Counseling, court advocacy,
right,
orders of protection.
Right.
One of the most important things, if you know and you realize that you're in a domestic violence situation, I would begin by making a safety plan.
Okay.
Nobody knows your situation better than you.
Right.
So if you're a parent, start making copies of birth certificates, social security cards, because the first thing an abuser is going to go for is your cell phone and your personal documents.
Wow.
So while it's going on in your head, start making copies of those things that you're going to need, your driver's license.
Sure.
I mean, everything that you're going to need to start all over again. Make good copies of those and give them to someone you can trust.
Okay.
Because the day that you end up leaving may be a day that you may have to just leave as you are, and you may not have time to gather all these things.
Okay.
Start putting back $5 a week or something like that, so that once you do get out, if you need to go get a hotel room, and that's something that I tell people who have friends and loved ones who may be experiencing some kind of domestic violence and they want to help.
Right.
And I tell them, put some cash back just for that person, because you may not want them to come to your house because you don't want, the drama at your house.
Right.
But you can, one of the most important things that a person fleeing a domestic violence relationship will need is some sleep.
Okay.
So the day that they leave, say, hey, you can't come here, but I'm going to put you up for a night in this hotel, and all I want you to do is sleep.
Right. Okay.
Because you don't know how sleep deprived you are until you actually get out of that situation.
Right.
And you realize, I've been sleeping, but I haven't been resting.
Wow.
But two of the main agencies here in Memphis and Shelby County are the Family Safety Center and the Crime Victims Rape Crisis Center.
Right.
Both of those agencies will help you as it relates to getting an order of protection, possibly getting a warrant for an arrest, free counseling, emergency housing, court advocacy, and things that you're going to need along the way as a legal, on the legal side point. But even if you don't go through the legal process, I'm a proponent for counseling, because one thing that I lost during my time was myself.
Right.
And I did not realize, how much of me I did not have anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to kind of talk it out. And that's something that, a lot of people don't think they need. But I promise you, if you only go for 3 sessions, and you can call those 2 places,
Okay.
and all services are free and confidential, and especially crime victim rape crisis, because if you've been injured,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you had some medical issues and you couldn't go to work,
Mm-hmm.
they also offer victims compensation.
Wow. Gwen, as always, a tremendous amount of information, valuable information, important information for people who are in these situations. I can't thank you enough for coming on
You're
the show.
so welcome.
And really, urging folks that you don't have to be a victim and stay in these situations. It may be difficult now, but there's always hope on the other side. And
Absolutely.
And thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate you. I'm gonna bother you again next year. How about that?
All right. You can call me before then if you
I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna call you just so I can I said I didn't want nothing. I'm just calling you just to say hi.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure, and let me give you those numbers.
Go ahead, please.
901-222 3950.
3950. Okay.
That's the Crime Victim Center, or the Family Safety Center, 222-4400.
Gwen, thank you. Thank you for everything.
so
And thank you for the
welcome.
conversation. And we'll talk soon. Stay safe, okay?
All right, you too.
Okay, take care.
Bye-bye.
That was an amazing conversation. We're going to take our final break. And when we come back, I said earlier, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And we're going to speak with a survivor and someone who is fighting every day to stay in this life. And she's got a story to tell and to share. This is Real Talk Memphis. I'm Chip. We'll be right back.
If you like Real Talk, here's a way you can get involved. Do you have a show topic idea or suggestion? Want to be considered a guest? or have a guest idea? Then send Chip a message on his Real Talk show page and you can be a part of the Real Talk experience. So as he always says, go out and tell somebody. We'll be right back.
It's real talk. It's real talk. It's real talk. It's real talk.
Every Saturday I go to Fifth City, but every Sunday morning I hang out with Brandy Rinks for her putting on airs, country, honky tonk, folk. She's the best, y'all. Tune in every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m.
There's really nothing better than a box of records. Not even a bottle of beer. Drinks are gone in a matter of minutes, but vinyl just won't disappear.
Hi there, this is Zach Ives. My show, A Box of Records, plays every Tuesday night, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., right here on WYXR 91.7 FM, Memphis, Tennessee.
Hey everyone, this is Janet, host of Jaunt with Janet, Wednesdays from 4 to 6 p.m., bringing you new releases in the rock, pop, and electronic genres with a little bit of the old fused in, all here on WYXR Memphis 91.7 FM.
It's real talk. 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 It's real talk.
Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
It's real talk. 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 It's real talk.
And welcome back to Real Talk Memphis on this Monday evening. I am your host, Chip Washington. Had a really good show so far tonight. We talked a little bit about higher education at Rust College with President Dr. Ivy Taylor. Then we had a great and very down-to-earth, real conversation about domestic violence, as this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month with Gwen Turner. I was hoping to have Paris Smith on. She is a breast cancer survivor. This is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Of course, the Susan G. Coleman Race for the Cure event is going on this month. Lots of activities and events all across the country to raise money, to raise awareness, to raise support for breast cancer survivors. Of course, we have lost thousands of folks, and I don't think I'm overstepping to say that each and every one of us at one point or another has lost or knows someone who has dealt with breast cancer. In this life, because it seems like it is a very, relatively common, occurrence, for some folks. I know, have you had any? You had your first mammogram? Well, that's a good thing. Everything good with that? I'm talking to DJ Lola, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. You know, but it is an important component. I don't know what happened with my last guest, but, you know, sometimes in the radio game, these things happen. I don't know. We've been going back and forth with and I don't know if she's listening or can hear us or anything like that. I'm looking on the board here to see if she pops up. But in any event, for those of you out there who have had an episode with breast cancer awareness, I know I read stories every day about folks, and it seems to be a genetic situation where, you know, folks will say that their mother, you know, had it, their grandmother had it, and they were treated, and then the next thing they know that they themselves had a mammogram and found that there was cancer in the system, and it was spreading quickly, and they had to have a radical surgery to be able to sort of stem the tide, so to speak. But for those of us out there who know folks who have gone to glory from breast cancer, who are dealing with that illness and that sickness, I think she's there. Hello? I think she's there. I think she's there. We're just talking. There she is. Hey. Paris, are you there? Hello?
Hi.
Hey, I'm glad we got you on. We have just have a couple of minutes left, but I'm glad you made it. Paris Smith is a breast cancer survivor. She's a young woman I saw on Facebook. I read her story and I was riveted, and I reached out to her to see if she would come on and share a little bit of her story. First of all, how you doing? How you feeling?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling okay. I actually have surgery tomorrow, so my nerves have been kind of everywhere.
Goodness. Well, we're gonna lift you up in prayer for sure.
Thank you so much.
In terms of that. But your breast cancer battle has been pretty intense. Can you give us just a kind of a brief synopsis of what you've been dealing with in terms of that?
So I was diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer back in March of this year. No family history, no nothing. It was just really like a fluke.
Wow.
And so I went through 6 months of intense chemotherapy, and now I'm coming up tomorrow to have surgery, a mastectomy. So this has all been a huge experience for me, because I've never dealt with this before. Never had a family member to deal with this. So this is all brand new to me for sure. Wow.
This really speaks to just how, you know, suddenly you could be living your life 1 minute and the next minute, you know, a routine exam or what have you, and you get the worst type of diagnosis. And you said that you didn't have a family history of this. Since you have been, you know, dealing with this, I'm sure that you probably met other folks, maybe survivors or other people, you know, who can share your journey with you. How important has that been to you?
Oh, very important. It helps me through this journey, because it's always good to meet people who are going through or have been through situations like you. It may not be the same thing, but to hear that they've been a 10 or 15 or 20 year, you know, breast cancer survivor, that helps me so much, because I know it gives me hope that, you know, what I'm going through, somebody else has been through and they've overcome it and have just, you know, been a survivor and have been able to help other people, which is what I love to do and will want to do in the future once this is all over with.
Well, you have a very determined spirit, and I picked that up from a conversation you and I had offline. And for those who are going through what you're going through and dealing with it, what advice would you give them?
Definitely. So I live by the motto, beautiful with cancer. And that's just basically telling myself that, you know, you are beautiful on the inside, not just the outside, but the inside.
Right.
And you've got this. You know, I look in the mirror all the time and I'm like, you're going to beat this. You know, it's all about encouraging yourself, you know, uplifting yourself, because some people don't have that support.
Right.
You know, so sometimes it takes you to uplift yourself, you know, to get through something like breast cancer, because it's not the easiest journey to be on. You know, and some people's stages are different. Mine stage 2, somebody else's maybe stage 3 or 4. But the outlook on it is, you know, always good for your spirit, because if you have a good outlook, if you have a positive positivity is always key for me. Like, I'm always positive, even with my surgery tomorrow, like, I've been emotional, but I'm like looking at the positive side of it. I have cancer, but I'm looking at the positive side of it. It could have been worse. It could have, been stage 3 or 4, so it's always how you look at your situation, and, you just never know who you're inspiring. And that helps me, because when I hear people inbox me or message me and say, man, you really inspired me, you're such an inspiration, that helps me get through what I'm going through. So, you just never know who you're touching. So it's always good to just look at the positive side. And, sometimes that may not be easy. Sometimes you have to cry. Sometimes you have to be angry and mad.
Yeah.
But at the end of that, you get right back up. You keep fighting. You keep pushing. So
well, listen, Paris. We got to get out of here. But listen, I'm gonna pray for you. And and I know that everything's gonna come out okay, and you be strong. And I'm gonna have you back on the show down the road, okay? After all of this is
absolutely,
said and done.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
Thank you for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it for this edition of Real Talk Memphis. It's been a great show tonight. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Keep supporting the show. Keep supporting the station. Talking Memphis is up next. Talking Memphis is up next live, so stay with us. This is WYXR. I'm Chip. This is Real Talk, and we are out.
What you need, he's a local and nationwide news feed. Let's talk about it. Dialect to do something about it. Chip got the flow wide open if you got questions about it. Man, it's the show that brings you to your raw.